One. Well, hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you this week. I got the simplest question that I've asked in quite a while of you, but it actually is really important for the growth and future of your business. So when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this is too easy. I'm like, Dave, we got to come up with a harder one than that. But this is really a good question. And the question is, how well do you actually connect with your audience? And I was like, that's actually a really good question. I think a lot of times we just make an assumption that every post that we put on social media or every billboard, every commercial. So I have somebody that's going to help challenge us with that. I'm honored to be hanging out with Ethan Vandehey. How are you today, my friend?
I'm excellent. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. Thanks for asking. You are the marketing manager at Infinity Exteriors. So kind of fill me in on how in the world Infinity Exteriors and your brand, Ethan, how do you guys connect with your audience? And is that an important thing for us to consider?
Yeah, I would say it definitely is something important to consider. And what's awesome about the role that I play at Infinity is you always need to be thinking like a customer. So we do roofing, siding, windows, and gutters, and we always need to be thinking about what would draw in somebody to do a project with us because there's a million competitors, right? It's the same thing if you run a marketing agency or you
Sure,
run a podcast or you run a service-based business. There's a million other people out there. But what
sure,
makes your business worth going to or worth
sure,
talking about? And
sure.
that key aspect right there is the experience. You need to make that experience unforgettable. It's like when
Yeah.
you go to a restaurant and, back in the day when I worked at Red Lobster was a fancy restaurant. You had people wearing dress clothes, you had
Sure,
people excited to be there, celebrating a birthday or celebrating a job promotion. And they did a really good job at making it an experience, slowing the pace down, really
sure.
making it worth the hype. And that's kind of what you
Question.
need to do in your job. You need to
Yeah,
make your service-based business worth the experience. And how you do that is through effective storytelling. You need to
sure,
make sure that the person that even gives you a call or a text that's interested is really taken care of on that first phone call, the customer service representative, or even if it's yourself,
yeah,
answering with true care and listening to them, but not just listening, actively listening. That's a huge difference these days.
sure,
And then
sure,
you're just taking care of them. You're nurturing the lead, you're nurturing the customer. And slowly over time, you're going to get to this finished result or this finished product, and
yeah,
you're going to have a customer that's going to be telling your story. And that's the huge part that's lost is you got to build this great experience that the customer's telling you the story, and the only part you're doing as the marketer is just repeating that story to other people. And what I
right.
mean by that, Dave, is there's all this technology out there, all these new softwares out there. Google is crazy with reviews nowadays. You can take a
Yeah,
picture, you can say how great your experience was, you can put the services that were provided. You can then go on Yelp and somebody can tell the story on Yelp. You can then have referrals, which is a huge way to get business these days. And you
sure.
should treat those referrals with genuine care. But I think that's the power is just authentic storytelling. And the way that you do that is with unreasonable hospitality, which is a great book, by the way. I recommend your viewers should check it out because
Okay.
when you have unreasonable hospitality and you're going above and beyond, these people are going to be so drawn to you in your business that all they're going
Yeah.
to do is share that with other people.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, and I think I like what you said. Those are really four important words. Think like a customer. So often we get stuck in what we think is a good experience. And I think we forget to ask our customers. And so I'm just curious because there's a lot of ways to do that. You can poll them, you can ask them, you can meet with them. Um, we actually do some secret shopping of some of our clients that ask us, they want to understand the experience and they can't get it when they walk into their establishment because everybody's on their best behavior. So, they send guys in like me, and then we just kind of share our experience. Um, Thinking like a customer can, to me, seems like a big blind spot for a lot of companies. So how did you kind of work through that? How did you think that through, in your career to, hey, rather than think like an owner or think like a team member, this is actually thinking like a customer. How did you arrive at that spot?
I will say, I give a lot of credit to my parents for raising me the way I was raised, but also they actually, the more eyes, the merrier. And sometimes when you go to people you trust and get their expert opinion, and sometimes they give you the hard criticism,
Right.
and most of the time you receive it from a professional in the workplace, and you get all upset because you're like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm doing work, I'm doing great. But
Yep.
when you actually get criticism from your family, like I call it tough love. And so when I first started at Infinity, I kind of was showing my parents, I'm like, hey, this is the mailer that we receive. Like,
Sure.
if you were to receive this into your mailbox, would you give
Yeah.
Infinity Exteriors a call? Because you have a
Sure.
home and your
Yeah.
home eventually needs a new roof. So, like,
Yep.
would you give Infinity a call if you saw this ad? And take me out of the question. I don't work here.
Sure.
Would you give them
Yeah.
a call? And they're
Yeah.
like, no, but here's what I
Yeah.
would do. If you
Yeah.
change these couple things, then I would give them a call. And it's like, okay, that's awesome. That's a good way to look to learn and to think. And I also have to say, you sometimes, yes, thinking like a customer is huge, but when you need to think like a customer, you first need to start with who's on your team that interacts with the customer first. And that's customer service most of the time. So
Right.
you need to see how somebody goes throughout your whole business process. And the
Yeah.
first thing is through the customer service experience when they first get a call or a phone lead. You got to see, how are we answering that phone call? How are we talking to them? Do we have a kind
Yep.
voice when we're talking to them, or was the customer service representative upset that day, so she or he didn't really give a great response back to that potential person? So
Sure.
I would say it's a lot of variance factors,
Yeah.
but the core way to think like a potential client or a potential customer is to first ask the people you love and know and trust, and be like, hey, would you do business with me if
Sure.
this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
And you will get answers that you really, first off, I mean, I thought Infinity was doing a lot of great things at marketing, and
Sure. Sure.
and so you learn a lot of things like, oh, if we just tweak this, or we just tweak this, or
Yeah.
making the language and the wording of the ads feel more drawn in, like there's a problem. So, like, for example, if you're going to talk about roof damage, making
Yeah.
sure like the ad hits emotions. That's a huge thing as well. When you're doing these storytellings and you're doing these ads on TV or these radio ads or whatever you're doing in your business, whether it's social media, people call them hooks. Creating these emotional hooks and these
Yeah.
emotional stories, those are going to be huge for your ads. And the best way to get those emotional ones is through testimonials. Testimonials are the bread and butter to marketing.
Sure. Yeah. It's way easier I think, as a consumer, I'm more excited about somebody that has other people saying how great this restaurant is or how great this service is, rather than, I can say I'm the best at this, you can say you're the best at that, but it's totally different when somebody's gone through that experience and then on the back end they're like, oh my gosh, that was such a great experience. You got to try that. I mean, I think, go back to what you were talking about, Ethan, before about it hurts. I mean, it's kind of like an ego, it's a shot to the ego in a negative way sometimes, because you've done, you think you have this ad nailed or this campaign or this idea, whatever, and then somebody comes along as a innocent third party and kind of, shoots holes in it. I think, I mean, that can hurt, but I think, again, to your point, it's really crucial to do that, because those are the people that you want to get the phone to ring. And if they're not going to pick up the phone because whatever you sent them was not of value, um, do you have people regularly kind of critiquing your marketing work, or how do you make sure the best message gets out there?
Yeah, I would say this is where collaboration is key in any
Okay.
business. I mean, for me, I'm blessed. I have a marketing mentor. I utilize him as much as possible, and he's helped sell a million companies, and he helps do a bunch of startup work. But I would say
Sure.
having somebody in your corner that's going to give you the tough love, and then at Infinity we have a sales team, making sure like the sales team's in aligned with what we're running in the marketing space, because if they don't know what we're running or saying, and all of a sudden the customer says, hey, I see you have 25% off on all
Yeah.
projects, and he goes, what are you talking about? I don't know about
Right.
that. Like,
Yeah.
just making sure like you work in collaboration with all departments. I think that's a
Sure.
core issue that I'm sure you've seen in businesses, where a lot of people do the, hey, I'm an ISO. Marketing is marketing, and sales is
Right.
sales, and
Yep.
customer service. Everything in a business is all tied together, and you just got to treat it that way. So we do a good job at meeting on the managerial level, making sure everybody's aware of what we're doing, and
Sure.
I would say that's the secret sauce, is collaboration.
Well, and I think, like you just said, Ethan, a lot of companies operate in that silo mentality where, hey, marketing and sales don't like each other. Inside sales and outside sales don't like each other. Operations and sales don't get along. I mean, there's all these silos within a company. And I think the collaboration piece is brilliant. It's hard because, we teach 5 C's of leadership, and one of the C's is collaboration. And it's hard to get people in an organization to drop their wall. I mean, if a boss came to me and said, "Do you like my ad?" I mean, I'm just naturally going to say, in my mind, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I love it," even if I don't, because I don't want to get fired. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to be the guy that's always a naysayer. So that's where I guess, how do you break those down, those silos, at Infinity? How do you guys break those down? And for people listening, that have those silos, what suggestions do you have for breaking those down and creating that collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the key to collaboration is communication, most part. And if you're a team, and I know a lot of people love the remote, I know a lot of people love doing the hybrid style, but honestly,
Yeah,
like if you want to see a business grow and scale, the collaboration's got to be in person.
sure,
This digital collaboration is it's going to be successful, but it's not going to be the successful to the level you want,
sure.
because I personally just feel like when you are all together in a room and you're strategically trying to plan and prepare a new asset or new creative or a new conversation, you're going to see people's emotions on their face. You're going to see their body language. You're going to see all these nonverbal cues. Where in the digital space, a lot of those nonverbals are hard to see, because some people don't even have their camera on. Some
Yeah,
people choose to be on mute the whole time, and they're probably
right.
like on mute, and they're like, oh, I disagree with this, but whatever. I'm going to keep my job and just be quiet.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's a key of why I like people getting back into the workplace. It's
sure.
it's awesome to see. It builds culture, right? It gets people motivated again. But the whole aspect of why I like mindset and why I like motivation and all those things is because when you meet people, you get to see their nonverbals. Are they excited to meet me? Do they like
Yeah,
my idea? Do they have
sure,
a better idea and they're just hiding it, and I can see it on their face? And
sure.
when you do collaboration like that and you break down your silos, you can really see like, wow, Alicia or Sam or John or whoever had really good ideas, but I was so caught up in my own world this whole time.
Yeah,
But now I'm just sitting in this meeting and I can see like their nonverbals, their body language. Yeah, they have something they want to say. And
yeah,
I think that's the cue, is just like really making sure that if you're driving or leading a workshop or a meeting, you're being really observant of the way that people are participating in the meetings.
sure. That's awesome. And my next book I'm working on is on business blind spots, because there's so many blind spots like you were talking about. We don't know, what we don't know, and so that's where we rely on the team. or we rely on outside sources to be able to help us with that. I think that that's really powerful there. What's one marketing mistake that you're seeing companies make, you know, over and over again that you have either identified, are trying to fix, but what are you seeing that, for the average entrepreneur, business owner listening right now somewhere in the world, Ethan, they're thinking that, hey, is my marketing, am I connecting with my audience? Is my marketing customer first or customer centric? Am I thinking like a customer? Those are a couple of them. What else are you seeing that are mistakes that we tend to make over and over?
Yeah, Dave, I would say my biggest frustration is probably with the lack of transparency and authenticity in the space of marketing, because the fact that, like, there's a lot of young entrepreneurs out there, a lot of older entrepreneurs out there, but the gravy and secret sauce to marketing is not your website. And I can't emphasize that enough, because if somebody is going to go to your website, there's an avenue that led them to your website, and that's your Google My Business page. Your Google My Business page is the front and center of everything you hold, and everything that says what your website is, what you do, who you are. Your Google My Business page should be your number one priority. It should be filled out accordingly. It should have your hours. It should have the days you're open. It should have what you believe in. It should have all your services that you provide. But most importantly, that's where we were talking earlier about this, building trust and getting
Yeah,
these real customer stories and these testimonials. That's all stored on your Google My Business page. That's all on your reviews. And that's the true value right there. And you can upload pictures as well. If you did a great project, you upload it to your Google My Business page. And I think that's the lost art these days, is people are
okay,
dumping thousands of dollars into these website transformations. And it's like, just dump 2 hours of your time a week into your Google My Business. And I'm
okay,
telling you, you will see results that will get you super excited, because you're going to start seeing more phone calls and more website chats and all of these things, because you're taking the first step, because you're thinking like a customer
fair.
first. Because what do people do when they want to potentially work with your business? It's they're going on Google or they're going on
Yeah,
ChatGPT now. And when they
yeah,
go on those services, it doesn't take you directly to your website. It takes you to the Google My Business page. So
gotcha.
just doctoring that up is going to be a huge thing for most business owners.
So we're going to take a quick break here, but before we do, just kind of explain, Ethan, what that Google My Business page is. Is it, do I go to google.com and then I just type in my business name and then hopefully on the right-hand side that's going to show up? Is that what you're referring to when you talk about Google My Business page?
Correct. Yep. And then so let's say you search positive polarity, right? Positive polarity's got to have a location, right? So let's say you live at 123 ABC Road in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So okay, great. Then you claim ownership to it because you're the
Okay,
owner of positive polarity. And then
okay,
once Google sees that you're the true owner of positive polarity, you build a login account to it so you can log in. And that's all through Gmail. And then all of a
okay,
sudden, your Gmail's connected to that Google My Business page. And there you go. You can start making edits and tweaks, and
okay.
amazing things can start forming. And the best thing that you can do then is take that review link and you can start sending that off to customers or potential people you talk to, and start building that big brand that we've been talking about today, that
Yeah,
customers click on and they're like,
sure,
wow, this guy knows his stuff, or this
sure.
company knows what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Gotcha. Awesome. And again, I think that sending the review link is important, creating and filling that out. The research on LinkedIn shows that 2 out of 3 people, if you're doing a B2B experience, business to business, 2 out of 3 people that you reach out to stalk you, look you up, check you out on LinkedIn before they even return that call. And if they don't see a LinkedIn profile or it's 5 years old and there hasn't been any activity, they probably less likely to call you back. Is that kind of the same scenario? Is that the B2B side, and then the B2C, the consumer side, is going to be more the Google My Business page?
Yeah, it's like Dave, if you wanted to go to a new restaurant, right? Most people are gonna look at the reviews and see like, "Ooh, what's really good here?" Or they're gonna
Yeah,
go online and see the menu. Well, now
yeah,
with Google My Business page, you don't even need a website. You can go straight to the Google My Business page and see the menu on the Google My Business page. And then you can
gotcha,
see like what's the top favorite that's been ordered there, or
gotcha.
all these different things. And I think that's going to be super helpful for uh, potential customers, and it's going to be continuing to help business owners. Is like, what is actually working for me here?
Sure,
And
sure.
you'll see by putting in a small effort, Google My Business can really help you.
That's awesome. Hey, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to kind of talk about your podcast, Encourage Mindset, and how that's tying into your journey, Ethan. So we're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Honored to be hanging out with Ethan Vandehay, marketing manager at Infinity Exteriors. And we are talking about how well do you connect with your audience. And I think it's interesting because kind of one of your offshoots for you specifically, Ethan, was, this to create a podcast. So, I always tell people, hey, if you aren't part of a podcast or you haven't been a guest on a podcast, I think you're missing out on some potential personal growth, business growth. I mean, there's no downside to it. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time and once in a while some money, but for the most part, it's a pretty smart way to get your message out. So, kind of fill us in on what the Encourage Mindset podcast is, if you can, Ethan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a podcast that has a variety of guests, whether it's professional athletes, entrepreneurs, you know, uh, anybody really. I mean,
Sure,
anybody can be a guest on my show, but it's
sure.
really about strengthening and brightening people's days and getting them motivated. I think that's the biggest thing these days is there's so many distractions in today's society and world that like we tend to lose focus on our goals. We tend to give up halfway through, and we tend to just kind of play the lazy card nine times
Yeah,
out of 10. So this podcast is all about motivating people in different ways, whether it's motivating you to make more money, whether it's motivating you to go to the gym, whether it's motivating you to get up, because sometimes even that's the hardest thing we do. And
yeah,
so, yeah, I started this in 2020 back when COVID was going on, and I just saw a lot of my friends, and in college, a lot of people were scared and didn't really know what the heck was going on. And you
sure,
saw people's mental health just go down and down and down and spiral. And I was like, well, I'm just gonna start a podcast and talk about this stuff. And then all of a
sure.
sudden it started having a couple guests on, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden I wanted to take my LinkedIn more seriously. And then I started messaging people, hey, you want to come on my podcast? And I think that's the best way to network these days is rather
sure.
than a cold email or a cold call, like, hey, just come on my podcast. Let's talk about
Yeah,
something. And people
yeah,
love it.
yep,
People love it
yeah,
because it gets them to talk about their creative and their authenticity and their stories. And that's the
yeah.
huge part about content is because, you know, podcasts give you endless content.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, and I think you bring up a good point that I want to kind of drill down on, for somebody listening, because I wrote down the word stuck. So I'm guessing somebody listening right now somewhere in the world, Ethan, is stuck, whether they're stuck in their career, they're stuck, they don't know how to grow. If you're stuck in a spot, what's your suggestion? How do you help people get unstuck if that's something that they're struggling with?
Yeah. I would say first you got to really figure out what the core issue is and what's truly bothering you. Is it,
Yeah.
for example, you're stuck at work because it's a money issue, or it's a leadership issue, or it's you just don't feel fulfilled. You got to figure out what that core root of the issue is, because it could be plenty of things. And for example, you got to look at a relationship too. Is it the core relationship that's the problem with your girlfriend or boyfriend, or is it something that they did that's affecting you and creating this problem? I think
Sure.
that's the problem, is you just got to find what that core issue is, and then that's the biggest feeling, and that's what's creating you to be stuck. So once you find out what that core issue is, that's the easiest way to attack what your problem is. So let's say your core issue is you feel underpaid. Okay, well, if you feel underpaid, are you setting up an annual review with your boss? Are you going over your KPIs? Did you have that conversation? Did you show him like or her like, hey, I did this, 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 this. I hit my KPIs. I've gone above and beyond here. Curious what you kind of view like the next year for me to be.
Sure.
And you let them kind of share, what they feel like the next year for you is going to be. And then you get the honest answer right away. And you don't
Yeah.
have to play this, well, I'm going to go behind their back and I'm going to start looking for jobs and I'm just going to hope that one day I'm going to get this insanely cool job and then I'm going to go in and put my 2 weeks and
Yeah.
just be transparent. If you feel like you're underpaid or you feel like you're working too hard or you feel like this and that's creating your stuck, then that and you just got to go out and have that conversation and solve it. And I know sometimes that's probably like, well, Ethan, that's the stupidest thing to say or that's the easiest thing or whatever, but it's
Yeah.
like sometimes the easiest answer is the hardest thing to do. Like it
Right.
is. Like that's
Yeah.
why like Nike's slogan makes me mad. Just do it. Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, right? That's
Right.
most people's
Yeah.
response. I don't want to
Yep.
do it.
Yep.
Just do it. Just do
Yep.
it. So that would be my answer to this. If you are
That's
feeling
awesome.
stuck, you just got to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think so. I look at it in a different way. And if somebody was underpaid, I think like what you're doing in your world is you have, I'll call it a 9 to 5 job, but then from 5 to 9, you're working on other things outside of, you're building a podcast and you're doing some marketing stuff. So I always think to myself, if I'm underpaid, in this case, we're talking about that, I want to find some other options for myself because we talk about it all the time on this show about people that transition from corporate America to owning their own business. And,
Yes.
it's like one of those scenarios that it's really hard in people's minds. That's why I love having this discussion because for some people, like for you, you're doing a day job, we'll call it, and then you're working a night thing for I mean that figuratively, and it's up to
Yep.
you how far you want to take it, and it's up to you if one day you want to become an entrepreneur where you own your own business. That's the cool part about it, and I hate seeing people stuck thinking that I'll always be stuck in this dead end job. I hear that so often. I hear people that say you're not supposed to like what you do for a living, that's why they call it work. And I'm just like, well, I guess then I buck the system or whatever. I don't know. I love what I do. And, I'm honored that I get paid to do it on top of loving it. So I appreciate, you unpacking that piece
It's
because
yeah, I was gonna say I
go ahead.
totally
Yeah.
agree. I totally agree with that because it's like, for example, if you want to be a millionaire one day and you're just sitting around your college buddies or your high school buddies or whatever it may
Yeah.
be, and they're all making like good money, but you want to make
Yeah.
exponential money. Well, then you got
Yeah.
to go network and find who these millionaires are and go sit around
Right.
the millionaires. And so I
Yep.
think I think that's another big thing too, Dave, is you got to make sure your inner circle is surrounded by you
Yeah.
correctly. You just got to make sure your inner circle is correct, because if you envision yourself to be this great entrepreneur or you have a bunch of side hustles and you have this 9 to
Yep.
5 job, whatever it may be, you got to make sure the other people around you, your quarters in your life, you
Yeah.
got to make sure your quarters in your life are doing the exact same thing or doing something that you want to be doing,
Right.
because that's the only way that you'll grow. Otherwise, you're going to continue to say, Yeah, Dave, I'm just stuck. I hate my
Yeah,
life. I'm stuck.
yeah,
Well, what are you doing on the weekends? Well, I
right.
just sit on the couch and I watch TV with my
Yeah,
buddies. And it's like, well, you're just doing what your friends are doing. You're just doing what your inner circle is doing. But if your inner
right.
circle had a second job at a brewery or had a side hustle going, like you would then go find a side hustle and do
Yeah,
something. So, yeah.
yeah. No, I love that piece, and it's interesting. When I wrote my number one Amazon best-selling book, Growing on Purpose, before I wrote it, somebody told me, I asked them, they wrote a book, and I asked them, how in the world did you do this? And they said, well, it started with I had to find five people that I knew that wrote a book and surround myself with them, to your point. So he says, go to your phone right now and look at your phone contacts. How many authors do you have in there? And at the time I had one, him. And he says, until you get to five, and I don't know what was magic about five, but he said, until you get to five, you're not going to do this. And sure enough, I'm seeking out people. Did you write a book? Will you be my friend? Type of thing. And it was like until when I got to five, it magically just happened. And again, we're not about making sure you get five of anything. But I think your point is really well taken, Ethan, that if we surround ourselves with people that are okay with status quo, we're probably going to be okay with status quo. And we're going to be okay with, whatever our group around us are doing is what we're going to be doing. And so I love that. That's the mindset thing that I think is so powerful about your podcast is, mindset is so important because what we think is going to happen a lot of times will happen. And if I would have continued to say, I don't think I can be an author, I never would have done it because I would have just been stuck in that spot. So, um, the podcast is Encourage Mindset. Wherever you get your podcasts, definitely jump on there. So, as we start to land the plane today, you talk a lot about small, consistent changes, and we do too. We talk about small course corrections. So often, when we're in coaching sessions or talking to companies about coaching, they think it's going to be this big 180-degree shift,
Yeah.
I mean, equal to changing a company name or equal to firing the whole team. I mean, they have all these unknowns in their minds. So when you talk about small, consistent changes, what's like one of the biggest changes in your life that you did to create your trajectory and where you're headed?
Yeah, I love that question. So, yeah, the phrase I definitely stole it from somebody, but it's getting 1% better every day. And at the end of the day, you always want to hit your pillow, quote unquote, feeling good about what you did. And
Yeah,
so, for me, the best things that I've been doing to get that 1% better every day is um, first, it starts with going to the gym, right? For me, I bought a membership at the Wisconsin Athletic Club. Now, some people, you don't need to go to the Wisconsin Athletic Club, even just going for a walk outside or going to
sure.
Planet Fitness, whatever it may be. But
Yeah,
getting some sort of exercise is huge. And
yeah,
um, before, I would say I really didn't really take exercise that seriously. I just kind of did it here and there. But it really helps when you technically have like a 9 to 5 job where you're sitting around in an office all day and not really moving. The
sure,
exercise helps because it changes your mind and it gets you to, think differently and just it 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 refreshes you. And that's the
sure,
best way to say it. And I would say
sure.
also to implementing small changes inside your job. Like what could I do that's, something that's taking a little bit slower, but I could speed it up here? Or
Yeah,
what's something that I could do that speeds up my day here? So, like, for example, most people nowadays, if you watch social media, they make a bunch of meal prepping videos. Meal prepping is huge because
yeah,
that'll help you get 1% better, probably more than that, 10% better, because you're eating healthier. You're not going out to eat and eating McDonald's or Burger King or whatever. But if you're taking small steps in your life like that, you're just ultimately setting yourself up for success. And it doesn't have to be financial success. I think that's the cool thing about success. Everybody defines it differently, and there's
sure.
different stages of success. And
Yeah,
people need to remember there's a wellness success, there is financial success, there is, family success if you want to have a bunch of kids, whatever it may be. But you got to find your bucket, the one that you feel that is a little bit behind, and you
Sure.
put some effort into it. And the effort doesn't have to be crazy, like we talked about, small
Yeah.
changes, but
Yep.
it could be getting up 5 minutes earlier. It could be saying a prayer before bed if that's something that you value. If
Yeah.
you want to be better at your job, it's okay. Spend an extra 20 minutes and do a task that's outside of your job description. If you want to really be a better husband or a better wife, it's okay. I'm going to pick up flowers today and write a card and really show appreciation.
Sure.
Things like that, I would call them unscalable activities. If you do some of those unscalable activities, those are going to transform your life.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and we talked about some today. We talked, maybe all you got out of today was Google my business page. You've never done that, or maybe it's you defining success, like you said, Ethan. Maybe no somebody listening's never done that. Maybe you've never thought of your business from a customer's perspective. These are small little course corrections that we talk about and we're talking about today. And again, I don't think, looking at all three of those, they don't cost you any money. They cost you time and energy. And I think that's really helpful to be able to walk away from this, podcast better than you got here. If that's the case, then you know what, success happened. Maybe that's how you define success, is I'm going to be on one podcast, or I'm going to try, who knows? There's so many different things, but I think that inactivity is such a hard thing to overcome. It's that first step, like you said, get up off the couch and do something. That's really hard for a lot of people, whether it's physically getting up off the couch or mentally getting off the couch, whatever that is for you. So, I appreciate you sharing that. Couple questions, and I'm gonna let you go. What would your tip of the day be today, Ethan? Maybe it's something we covered already. Maybe it's something we haven't yet. But what would your tip of the day be today for somebody listening?
It's a funny tip, but I don't know the percentage on it. So maybe we'll have to look up the percentage. But I've always heard this funny thing. If you make your bed, you're going to be more successful. I don't know
Yeah,
how many people are listening that make their bed. I really don't. I should probably be better at it. But if you make your bed, you're more likely to be successful because you're
yeah,
starting your day off right. Um, and then my other tip of the day is 90% of people use Google. So remember, 90% of people out there are going to go to or potentially look at your Google My Business page. So
yeah.
those would be my two tips. But
Awesome.
I would love to know the actual percentage wacky stat on how successful you might be if you make your bed.
Well, if anyone's listening and they want to share with us, let us know what that is. I heard that too, and I remember a lot of it came from the military. And that
Yeah.
was like the first thing that they did was make sure that you make your bed so you can start off the day having accomplished something. I make mine every single day. And it's like, how many times you walk by an unmade bed and I'm like, crap, I got to make it versus, oh, it's already made. There's just a mindset shift that's there. So I love that piece. And again, the other piece is again, Google your business. See what are your customers seeing, and to your point, if the hours aren't there, the location's not there, there's no reviews there, there's no pictures there, there's no direction. I mean, it's all free, right? To create that Google page, that's all free for us, right?
Yep, totally free. And if you have any questions at all, like Dave said, utilize LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. Happy to, help and support anybody to grow their business and grow their dreams.
Awesome. And that was going to be my last question for people that do want to connect with you, Ethan. What's the best way? Is LinkedIn? Because I know you have your own website as well. So, what's
Yeah,
the best way
totally.
for people to connect with you today?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Anybody that's willing to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you want to do the virtual coffee or a coffee in person, super excited to do either of those because the best way to meet people and to get more podcasts and more guests on is to send messages and take risks and just do it, as Nike says.
Yeah, awesome. So connect with Ethan Vandehey on LinkedIn. That's the best way. Check out Encourage Mindset podcast, where Ethan is the host and he has guests on pretty much every week, talking about different things, mindset related. So awesome. Thank you so much. Now I'm gonna have to Google my business page, see how I stack up. Now you got me nervous here, so I might be calling you for some help, but. I love the send the review link. I'm definitely going to do that more. And again, I think it's really powerful to think like a customer. So again, if you connect with your audience, congratulations. If you don't, hopefully some of the things we shared today are going to help you with that. And as always, reach out to me if you have questions. Reach out to Ethan if there's questions. And I guess if we have window questions, roofing questions we can ask you as well. And if you don't know, you'll probably make the answer up for us, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Cool.
Happy to help with all of those. And thank you so much for having me on, Dave. And I look forward to having you on my podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to be on the rare earth list of encouraged mindset guests. I saw some cool peeps on there. So thanks again for sharing part of your day with us. And I will keep you posted on my business page for Positive Polarity. If anyone out there wants to volunteer their time and help me, man, give me a call. I'd love it. But no, we know the importance of the Google My Business page. So thanks for everything, and I will continue to watch you grow and appreciate all you're doing.